Marriott's joint venture with Alibaba, set up to manage its online store on Fliggy, was the biggest news in the travel marketing sector last week. Smart move on the part of Marriott. This means it can market directly to Alibaba's base of 500 million monthly active users. Now that's a really attractive number. But it gets better. The hotel chain will also get access to a mountain of data on prospective travelers even before they start planning their trips. And it solves a major pain point: payments. I talked to Craig Smith, Marriott Asia Pacific's president and managing director, about the JV. Hi, I'm here at the Marriott office with the head honcho of Asia Pacific, Craig. Now, Craig, could you tell me a little bit more about this huge deal with Alibaba that's beyond this headline, the story behind it?
Well, it really started about a year and a half ago. I think there were conversations between both companies. I know that Jack Ma and our CEO, Arne Sorensen, have a very good relationship. And so we had kind of, gone back and forth and discussed with each other. We, from the Marriott side, saw this huge potential. The Chinese traveler, they're the largest source market in the world, largest outbound. There were 125 million trips taken last year outside of China by Chinese travelers, and they spent about $109 billion. And so you imagine the size of this market, it's huge, and it's growing faster than any other market. And so in the next 5 years, we predict it to be over 700 million trips by Chinese travelers. So today, they're the number one source market for almost everywhere in Asia, including resorts. So you take Bali, Maldives, everywhere they're the number one source market. And we looked at that and said, how do we make sure that we capture that? And now on the other side of that, Ali was looking and saying, how can we partner with a company that has 90 years of experience in hospitality? And how can we have a new acronym we call O2O, online to offline.
It can't be the other way around.
No, it could be online to offline to online again. But
that's O2O.
Yeah, O2O.
Yeah.
And it's really about, how do you marry these experiences? So you have, a lot of people that are able to facilitate the online portion, but not the offline portion. And how do we make sure that the Chinese travelers have the complete experience? So everything from booking to getting their visa, payment, every one of these pieces of the travel experience, how can we make it happen?
The immediate benefit you can think from the consumer is how seamless it's going to get. But to what extent? Because just on the surface, you can sort of imagine in the first part of the customer journey, Alibaba has, search data, user behavior, even payments, and then you guys are really, really strong on the on-property, on-premise, data side. And how does it, like on the grassroots operational level, how does this two actually match and to become seamless for the traveler?
So what we're going to do is we'll have a storefront basically on all these websites.
Fliggy.
So it's Fliggy's I guess you know it already. So Fliggy's the place that people go for travel, and one of the experiences we're looking at is we said, listen, we have 500 million members of Alibaba on their platform and these people wanted to travel. You've got this huge middle class. And it's not just about what happens on the booking and in the hotel, but we're talking about everything. You want to go bungee jumping? Do you want to go scuba diving? Do you want to book a car? We want to make it completely seamless. And you want people to be able to pay in the way they do. And most Westerners don't think about it, right? We have Visa, MasterCard, American Express, and we travel around the world, and it's accepted everywhere. But imagine that you went to somewhere like China and you couldn't pay with your Visa, MasterCard, or American Express. You would say, gosh, do I want to travel there? Do you really care about having me in your country? Well, you have these Chinese travelers that don't. They pay with, Alipay, and they want to be able to do that. And that's what's happening today is this digital wallet's becoming much more important. And so it's about everything from the beginning to the end. And this device here in the United States, we pat ourselves on the back because I think we did we did $1 billion in sales on digital last year. It's 50 times that in China. So imagine China in some ways leapfrogged over what the United States is doing on digital and digital payments. It's much larger in this part of the world, and we've got to be able to be ready for Chinese travelers in Paris or in Rome, or if they want to come to Singapore, so that they can pay them the way they want to. So it's not just the booking experience, it's the entire thing from front to end.
In terms of like a membership, does this mean that Marriott will get 500 million members sort of like automatically as part of this JV? I think
it'll be a little more selective, but what we are looking to grow our loyalty base. So So our loyalty base now is 100 million members, and we're the largest in the world. It's pretty good, but we see this huge potential of could we sign up the frequent travelers that are already using Ali. And I think that's one of the things that we've talked about is so people can automatically go in and sign up, and we have the ability now to target the right customers, the ones we want, because Ali has the history of their purchases. They know what to do. I mean, you can get a loan, you get a visa. I mean, you can get a Singaporean visa on Ali today. That's pretty cool. It really is one stop. And when you think of it nowadays, when people are booking packages may be food, lodging, flight, and maybe somebody to pick you up from the airport. But that's usually about all the package includes. It doesn't include everything else. And so for the customer, we think of all the stakeholders. The customer has a seamless experience. Ali has an opportunity to bring them onto their platform, more people onto their platforms and service them there. And for us, we have the opportunity to pick up a larger base of business.
How much resources on your side have you put into the JV, and how much on the Alibaba side?
So it's about even. I mean, that's the nature of the joint venture, and a lot of it really depends on what we don't know yet. And so we're going to use Ali's experience to help us design a cooler storefront. We have Marriott.com.cn, which does very well, but we think how can we redesign that and make it more attractive to the Chinese consumers? And Ali really knows how to do that. And so what we've done is we've taken the best and the brightest of both minds. In fact, right after the signing, so I kind of felt like a striker on a football team, right? I got to go to the event. I got we got the credit for it, but all the people were doing the work in the background. And the day after we had the signing in Shanghai, we had a huge drove of people from our corporate headquarters fly on to Hangzhou and to meet at the Ali campus there to make sure that they were getting everything right. And these were systems people, loyalty folks from our loyalty program, people that talk about our digital, the websites, salespeople, every piece to make sure that we're able to marry this together, and they've done the same. So they brought their best and their brightest minds together.
Is there a dollar amount in terms of capital being put into the JV?
Yeah, but it really isn't a huge amount because most of the capital is really going to be in the man hours and the labor that's put into it to think it through. Think of it as, in some ways, the real benefit is going to be all the knowledge workers that are working on it. And today, everything today is really digital, so it's about how they work it. And I think we'll find that besides the JV, there'll be a lot of people in both organizations that'll be focused on making this successful.
Well, how would that work? Like if the Fliggy, online a website facing the consumer and the Marriott.com.cn, how would you sort of balance traffic?
They go in through Fliggy and then they go on to let's call it our storefront, and in that way. And so Fliggy's become super successful in China and becoming more and more well known, especially for travelers that want to travel outside of China.
Was there consideration to partner with Ctrip or Qunar, which is sort of the other?
We want to partner with everyone, so the answer is yes. I mean, one of the things that we've talked about, especially since the acquisition of Starwood, has been this: we want to be on the shelf everywhere and anywhere that a consumer wants to buy, and then we want to make sure that we are located everywhere and anywhere a consumer wants to go. And so that's kind of it. And so imagine that you've got different stores here in Hong Kong. But Coke and Pepsi want to make sure they're on the shelves in every one of those, and we're the same way. We have a great relationship with Ctrip. We've had it for years. I think we were one of the first brands that work with them on an international side, for outbound travel, and I think we'll continue to keep that healthy as we go forward. But we also realize there are a lot of consumers that book through Ali, and we saw the immense size of Alibaba, and we thought, wow, if we could work with them, what could we do with them?
So are these sort of three alternatives, competitors, as to say, are they on different tiers? Because obviously Ali might be more valuable in terms of their...
They're just, in some ways, they're just different, right? I mean, in many ways, right, today Ctrip really dominates in the domestic market in China. I think Ali's...
Inbound.
No, and Chinese travelers booking rooms in China. And I think that Ali's looking at both in many ways. And it really depends on where customers go. And so, our strategy, I'm being a little repetitive, it really is to be wherever they want to buy. Because you can't change that. You can't as a consumer, if we were selling our product in a store here in Hong Kong, you can't tell the consumer only go to that store to buy it. You want to make sure that you're in every store and you're visible there. But we want to make sure that we're visible with the biggest players.
Definitely. How does that work with the concept of loyalty? When you say loyalty marketing with a certain few players, trying to keep them under the system or a few programs, then if if you then spread it all out, then does it go against the concept of loyalty marketing?
No, we think about loyalty, we're thinking about the individual traveler. And so there are a lot of benefits of loyalty. Obviously, we have their preferences in our system. So if you're a frequent traveler with us and you belong to SPG, Marriott Rewards, or Ritz-Carlton Rewards, obviously we have the information. So you have the choice of booking direct with us, you can go through another channel, but we have your information there, and you earn points and status, and you earn future trips. And so what we see a lot is that people go on business trips and they save those points to go up on holidays with family or friends, and that's kind of the idea behind it. But behind that is also this fact that we get to know you better. And so we know what your preferences are. I prefer this type of room, I prefer these type of pillows. And then we have what we call surprise and delight. So we have China NBA games. We invite a lot of our loyalty clients there, big concerts. And so we, as a company as large as we are, we have opportunities for those loyalty customers to really go out and experience things they wouldn't have an opportunity to experience somewhere else.
So what could you do now that you couldn't do before the deal?
For loyalty?
For marketing, just in general.
I think
loyalty.
the same thing, but it's just now bigger. I think that's you reach a bigger crowd, right? I mean, our ability now is to really reach out. I mean, imagine our marketing in China before, and now we have the opportunity to market to 500 million members. If we're talking just about Ali, for that are with Alibaba, and that's a tremendous opportunity. And how could we have reached to that larger crowd with our marketing dollars before versus today?
So being this humongous organization that you are, and then trying to link that with the holy grail of seamlessness, and that means custom queues, visa issues, how much sort of sway do you have or influence over things that would be outside of your control, right? Visa, country,
we're moving to other areas. And I think in the United States, we signed a deal with a company called PlacePass. And PlacePass is really about experiences. And so we've noticed in the last couple of years that people are actually trading. They used to spend all their money on goods, handbags, watches, and some of these things, especially in Asia Pacific. But now Asia Pacific and also the Western side of the world, people are spending a lot more money on experiences. That's the new purchase of today. And we've been hearing from economists that this is growing at exponential rates. And so it isn't just the experience of the hotel or lying on the beach in this hotel. It's they want to go parasailing, they want to go scuba diving, they want to go water skiing. And how can we give that to them? There's with my kids, I've got 5 children, they're all millennials. And wow. the phrase they use is FOMO, fear of missing out. Right?
Yes.
My friend went to the Maldives. I've never been to the Maldives. I want to go to the Maldives. My friend went parasailing. I saw the videos on YouTube or Facebook, and I'd like to do the same thing. And so people are, they're buying digital products, but they want more and more. They're willing to pay more for experiences. And so what we've lined up is how do we make sure that we can pick out? But they don't know. So if you go to the Maldives and you go to stay in a hotel, how do you know who's a recommended scuba dive company? How do you know that you don't sign up for somebody who's going to take you deep sea fishing in a canoe? And all these things. And who would know? It would probably be the hotel that's there. And so can we go out and find the right providers at the right place so they have the security of knowing what they're paying for is good, and then go back to what you said, the seamless part of they can book it up front.
How about the mobility part in terms of travel, like visa applications between countries? Just now you mentioned
visas and paying. There's so much more. I mean, the part I was fascinated with, and I learned this about a year and a half ago, is that Ollie had worked out a deal with the government of Singapore. That they could tell by there's something they call Sesame score, which is like your score of credit. And they could tell who worthwhile people were, and they've been able to run algorithms to decide who are the people that are risked and not. And so it's worked very well. Plus the Chinese government has done an incredible job with other governments today in facilitating visa-free travel. And so you see more and more travelers from Chinese going around the world, and they don't want to stay in these countries. They want to go home. They just want to experience it, right? And so I think countries are beginning to feel much more secure, and the markets are opening up.
You're a happy beneficiary of this.
We're a happy
government
beneficiary.
Level.
And the other thing I will tell you is in life, travel really breaks down barriers. So you think of the prejudice countries have, or people have, or religions have between each other. When people go and visit a country, they go, wow, these people are really good. They're not what we see. And so you see sometimes governments may argue. People travel across borders and people are good. And so I think besides
the differences for the sake of this travel.
Besides the selfish benefits for us as a travel company, I think there are benefits for the world of opening borders and letting people travel back and forth. Plus, money's becoming fluid today. And you see that, people are making decisions. One of the things I've been saying lately, I told this to some folks from the the Japanese government that had interviewed me the other day is that countries need to realize today that they have to compete. Countries compete. They don't think about that. They compete for tourists. Tourists, they change one destination to the other depending on and so, the country of Japan is a perfect example of a country that has upped their game as far as advertising, marketing the country, opening, their borders to, and over the last 3 years, we've seen this massive increase of travelers, including Chinese travelers, to Japan, which has helped their economy.
Yeah, they even have a localization program for the locals to learn how to speak to foreigners.
and it's worked very well, and and kudos to them, because if you think about it, and this is one of the things that our chairman told Obama years ago, a foreign visitor is an export. Think about it in that sense. Countries always talk about exports, they want to export more. But somebody coming to your country and spending their currency in your country is the same as an export. You're gaining foreign currency.
Fluid one, yeah.
Yeah, it's a very simple one. And so countries themselves need to think to them, how do we compete with other countries today?
What are the other pain points of the Chinese traveler that's still not solved yet?
I think payments is one of the ones that we're working on. And I think that's probably the biggest one for the Chinese travelers. Sometimes language, but there's some great workarounds. And so we're placing more and more Mandarin speaking associates in hotels, in the front office, in concierge. But besides that, WeChat has a great thing that we're using. We have a program called Liyu. And Liyu is our program, how do we welcome the Chinese travelers to our hotels? And that's Chinese food, Chinese TV channels, having the slippers in the room, having tea. But it's also about language, can you get things translated in your own language? Americans, we're very fortunate because no matter where we travel, it seems like people speak our language. That's not always the case for other nations. And if you want to welcome them there, you need to make sure that you're able to facilitate the communication that they need while they're there.
In general, the travel industry is plagued with antiquated systems, from the 1950s in terms of everything on paper. Could you comment on it? What is actually the
I can actually elaborate on it because I see it and I live it every day, right? So when I was 2 months old, I received my first passport. Our family actually moved to Mexico when I was two months old. So I have a little diplomatic passport with a picture of me. I was cute in those days, a little baby. That passport looks almost exactly like the passport I have today, only that was a black diplomatic passport, and the one I have today is blue. Not much has changed. So you think of all the use of technology in the world, passports are still the same. The processes are still antiquated. You've got to get papers. You think to yourself, in the future, it almost ought to be a chip or something that's digital. You have two pieces of a visa, one for one country and one for the other. And that's what we're looking forward to, is governments collaborating, and how do you set that up so information about safe travelers can be easier, and that can facilitate not just travel, but also the movement of money. Can you take money out in your currency? Today the nice thing is you go to our hotels and you go to check out and they'll ask you, do you want to pay in Hong Kong dollars, US dollars? And you can pay in any currency that you want to at that exchange rate there. That's helped. But governments need to really work on it. We have a saying that we always talk about, is governments talk about foreign direct investment. Remember I said a tourist is an export. And so governments always talk about it. They roll out the red carpet to get you to come there, then they roll out the red tape as soon as you get there. And so you don't want to, on one side, you don't want to have the Department of Tourism market your country to actually arrive in the country and spend 5 hours in a queue to go through immigration. That gets rid of all the happiness that you felt about arriving there. And so governments need to be aware of that, and they, in some ways, they need to get up to date on some of these things to make sure that they compete.
Thank you very much. And when Marriott has the next deal, I'll be here again speaking to Craig. And thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Pleasure.